The big question we are asking tonight is, will growing diplomatic isolation make better sense prevail on Pakistan? To discuss that, we are joined by Srilekant Sharma, former Secretary General of SAARC. Welcome, Mr. Sharma, to Newsnight. 4 countries have snubbed Pakistan. India has been joined by Afghanistan, Bhutan as well as Bangladesh. Will the cost of sponsoring and abetting terrorism make better sense prevail on Pakistan?
I hope it does, because the inability of Pakistan to go through with the full-fledged SAARC summit should hit them hard. They have been very sure that they will be able to pull off a summit, going by the generosity with which Pakistan's neighbors have been taking them, despite the violation of all norms of behavior which SAARC requests, SAARC requires. But this time now India has decided that enough is enough and India will not participate. Bangladesh has decided that they will not participate, and the reasons given by Bangladesh, for instance, says clearly that interference in the internal affairs of a country which is in violation of SAARC charter. Then in the case
Afghanistan has pointed to imposed terrorism, and we know where it's pointing
where it is coming out.
Yes.
And in the case of India, we have pointed out that our statement is very eloquently made by Videsh Mantri Sushma ji in New York at the UN General Assembly, where she's put down how India has made every effort to reach out to Pakistan. However, in return what we got is Pathankot and Uri, and so that's why India is now on a different India cannot go on as business as usual, and India has to now take action.
Absolutely. Mr. Sharma, how can more diplomatic pressure be brought to bear on Pakistan, and also strategic pressure by its neighborhood and international community? Is expulsion of Pakistan from SAARC a practical proposition, or if that's not the case, then can more muscle be given to a regional grouping which can emerge as an alternative to SAARC, for instance, BIMSTEC?
Well, this message is already going to go next month when at the BRICS summit, instead of SAARC, India is inviting BIMSTEC, which includes Bangladesh, Myanmar, Sri Lanka, Bhutan,
Thailand
Nepal,
as well,
except Pakistan. So Pakistan should get a message that the others can do better business among themselves and move forward on regional cooperation. Then waiting for them to come, and they have been, Pakistan, though they wanted to host a summit, over the past several years their conduct about SAARC has been in every way against the spirit of SAARC. Their participation in SAARC meetings has been below par. They have been sending counselors of their embassies to participate, where ministers or secretary level officials come from.
Also, Pakistan's IB chief did not participate in the meeting of anti-terrorism experts in New Delhi.
Yes, and then recently they were supposed to be the host of SAARC summit, but the kind of hospitality which they showed at the meeting of the home ministers in Islamabad left so much to be desired. It was in violation. It was very much. It was a strange kind of behavior, even in terms of Pakistan's own standards of hospitality. I had gone there as a Secretary General at the last meeting of Home Ministers in 2010, and then India's Home Minister was there. There was a very different way they were treating. But this time they seem to have, I think they've gone on a high horse. They think they can flout the norms of diplomatic behavior and still walk tall in the International Committee of Nations.
Absolutely, and since we're talking about SAARC, there have been instances in the recent past which show that Pakistan has red flagged and stalled various SAARC regional connectivity projects, be it on an electricity grid or railway connectivity project or road connectivity project. The BBI and motor vehicle agreement, for instance, is one example. So is there all the more reason to make maybe SAARC irrelevant and give more muscle, as we are saying, to BIMSTEC?
If Pakistan doesn't want to do with SAARC, there are other ways we can deal with that. Regional cooperation has virtue in itself, and India has been working out it, like the BBIN, as you mentioned, or BIMSTEC, and but we have been playing by the book. The BBI, for instance, the transport ministers, when they met in 2015, they mentioned in their joint statement that they are doing it as per the SAARC summit declaration. So they still played by SAARC, and they said as and when others are ready, they can join this process. So this was the positive way out. And the idea was not to isolate anyone. However,
besides
but
the
if they
neighborhood,
don't want to learn the lessons, they have to face the music.
okay. Besides the neighborhood, does the international community also want to diplomatically isolate Pakistan? Because we've heard the European Union Vice President calling for sanctions against Pakistan. There is a petition on the official website of White House with over 1 lakh signatures calling for Pakistan to be declared a state sponsor of terrorism. There's a bill which wants the same in the US Congress. So is that sentiment gathering momentum to isolate Pakistan in every which way possible?
Well, there is people's patience with Pakistan is very
Running
thin.
out.
And more and more countries now are coming out to advise Pakistan to desist from the kind of policies that it has followed. And this whole idea that Pakistan can use terrorism as a state policy is now resounding in statements of many countries, including the US. They have often said this. So Pakistan has now a void staring it, where everyone is questioning their policies, and they have no way to answer. This denial and lies will not take them very far. And just 1 or 2 countries who've been their protectors, they would also bear the pressure then when international community sees the reality of Pakistan.
Are you referring to China?
Of course.
Okay. And as far as China is concerned, we know that in a matter of 10 to 15 days, the issue of technical hold of on Maulana Masood Azhar that China imposed in the UNSC is set to expire. How should India be dealing with that? We understand recently there was a high-level meeting on counter-terrorism between India and China.
Well, India has always maintained that they will continue the diplomatic engagement with not only China but all other countries to bring home the point that we feel very strongly about Pakistan's behavior. So I think that will
Can we make it awkward for China to stand by Pakistan and Maulana Masood Azhar in these circumstances where there is a growing sentiment the world over against terrorism and nearly every country is impacted by it?
No, it is, there's no need that there are processes under the UN auspices. This is the process is being under the Security Council, and under the Security Council processes there is a resolution 1373 which actually prohibits countries from supporting terrorism. So here is that process. Chinese have been trying to still come to Pakistan's rescue by using technical arguments, but how long can they do so? This is because if they do it too long, it will impinge on their own status.
Okay. And how do you see the series of diplomatic and strategic moves that India has made against Pakistan since the Uri terror attack, starting from, say, the SAARC summit being called out, then a decision being taken to effectively not make Indus Water Commissioners of India and Pakistan meet with India, saying that such talks can only take place in an atmosphere free of terrorism, and a decision that can take place tomorrow in all likelihood of reviewing the MFN status that India has given to Pakistan?
MFN was, another measure of generosity from India. It was an asymmetric measure without waiting for Pakistan to reciprocate, though Pakistan is bound by the WTO agreement to give MFN treatment to India.
But it hasn't reciprocated.
It never reciprocated. So if India wants to withdraw that favor, it is, it is India's prerogative. And we have to see that if the government wants to do this.
Okay. Now, Pakistan is also using nuclear blackmail once again, like it has done so many times in the past. What should be India's response?
Oh, that, yesterday I heard on the television, former president of Pakistan, Musharraf, flaunting nuclear weapons, saying there could be a nuclear war.
And the defense minister of Pakistan currently has also used
Mr.
nuclear
Musharraf,
blackmail.
in 2002, January 12, came out with a long statement telling his country that if you continue with this kind of activities, your name will be will be mud in the world. And if you were to read Musharraf as President of Pakistan, his statement, his invocation to his own country to desist from these methods. It is a surprise that now this man sitting in Chicago is now saying that there can be a nuclear war. But what India is doing about Pakistan is because it's persisting with the terrorism. So whatever is India's steps is not coming out of the blue. We have tried to engage with them. Even 2 days back, Foreign Secretary met the Pakistan High Commissioner, gave him further proof of the involvement of Pakistan-sponsored terrorist activities. But
what are the other diplomatic and strategic measures that India can still look at? Because the government has repeatedly said that all options are on the table. There is still cross-LOC trade that is on. Then there are visas that we've been issuing to Pakistani citizens. There's train movement, bus, truck movement across LOC.
These are, calibrated steps. And for each step, I think the government has a certain plan, a certain perspective in which they are working. And it will all depend upon how the Pakistanis respond. If they continue to flout, maybe all these steps will follow one after the other.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Sharma, for having joined us on Newsnight tonight.